Thank you, Hans. So let's bring this town of Belgrade Planning Board meeting to order. This is for the January 19th meeting. Thank you, Hans, for the packet of information, including the agenda. I appreciate that. I'd like to move the minutes rather than early. Conduct business first with our guest. Go through that so that we do not hold up Mr. Keysa. Is it Keysa?
Keysa, you did it
Keysa.
perfect, thank you. You did last time we met too, you nailed it just.
Okay. Okay, awesome. And so if the board does not mind, we'll just change the order and do it
Makes
that way.
sense.
Okay. So thank you. So under the agenda, we have new business, the applicant W. Burt Keysaw. Location 126 Tall Pines Lane, map 46, lot 8. And you're proposing to replace an existing camp. So raise what's there,
Yes.
build a new. Included here is a bunkhouse. There's mention of a bunkhouse. Will that be raised as well and then replaced?
That's maintenance only.
Maintenance only? And then, I see. Next line says maintenance. Gotcha. Okay. All right, I missed that. Great. Well, thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Hans, do you have anything you want to help lead in with this?
Incorporated a shoreline fact sheet for the next page below. With the map lot numbers, limited residential, it is non-conforming. The lot size is 10,650 square feet. If we multiply that by 20, we have an allowable open hard surface of 2130. Right now, the footprint coverage, the total hard surface is 1998, which means just under 19%.
Yeah.
So it's tight, but it's a postage stamp lot.
Mhm.
It's not that big. I've broken down the hard surfaces.
But beautiful.
Very beautiful, right?
They like the postcard. Yeah. So the driveway is about 600 square feet. The buildings make up the rest of the square footage
Okay,
entirely, including the bunkhouse and the tool shed. Canopies around 2,102 square feet. So he's got a lot of canopy there.
and thank you for doing
Yeah,
this.
that's very
fact sheet.
helpful, Hans.
Yeah, that is very
Well, it
helpful.
helps me too.
Fantastic. Great record keeping, right? I mean,
Yeah.
anybody could look at that. That's great.
And so there's no patios or walkways that are unvegetated.
No, the photos will show there is a front, stoop, basically stairs.
Yeah, right.
And there's no decking
Okay, so
or hard surface.
just structures plus the driveway. Thanks.
I had a question, are there any right of ways at all?
Yeah, the proximal boundaries to the high water, he's 32 feet 4 inches from the high water mark. There's a shared right of way to the back. He's that's about 43 feet 8 inches. There's a little tree line. But that's the distance to the shared right of way. The rear boundary is just 36 feet. So he's got the setbacks covered.
And for clarity, the right of way is not on my property.
No, it is not.
So my right of way to my lot is not via my property, and there are no other right of ways
Okay,
to my property.
This is a fact I'm going to include, just so I know, and cover my bases.
Thank you. Yeah, very good. And Hans, you noted that it's a level lot. Pretty.
Yeah,
Flat.
level approximately 3 feet above the lake level.
Mhm.
I think according to the Google Earth shot, there's about a 8-inch slope from. So it's pretty level.
Yeah, pretty level. Pretty awesome.
Away from the lake.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
yeah, what I've done is 5 to 7 inches away from the lake. Yeah, it's a beautiful lot.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely flat.
Okay, awesome. And it's indicated here that there are no plans to remove trees for the house construction.
Correct.
Actually, in the site drawing, it shows 1 8-inch diameter
It does
tree.
show one removed, but by shifting that, and I didn't correct that, by shifting it literally about a foot, we can preserve the tree lines. So, and that's what's reflected there.
And that's the effort, I mean. You are going back, you're not doing digging foundation, you're doing crosswalk,
We're doing a frost
I did
wall.
not.
We're proposing a frost wall. Yeah.
so we may lose a tree, but. He still has a lot of canopy.
So I, as always, create a worst case scenario, and I feel this is the worst case scenario. And any improvements will help us.
And so I have a question. So I can see on this site drawing, which I like a lot of the information that's here, which is very helpful. I see the distance from the shoreline, what I think is probably the normal high water mark,
Yes,
to the front of the structure. Looks like 35 feet, 5 and something inches or
Yeah.
something, like 3. What is the dimension of the camp or the structure right now?
so the existing cell structure, which is the shoreline side of it, is 20 foot. Hold on one second. Is 24 foot 6 inches. So that self elevation is 24 foot 6 inches. I'm proposing that gets longer with no closer to the shoreline
Gotcha.
of
Thanks.
3.5 feet.
Gotcha. 24.6 by 30.
And so you'd be increasing the square footage by 309 feet of the footprint.
Yeah, I'd have to do the math off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm just doing the difference between the two numbers on your application on the front page there. 1,089 versus 1,398. That still correct?
Yeah. Oh, yes, sorry, yeah. Exactly. Oh, right, there's all the dimensions right there. Yeah. Look at that.
Is
So 3.5 feet wider. Just short of 3 feet deeper, but not as deep as the existing back patio covered entryway.
And so this entire structure would be within 75 feet of the normal high water mark?
Yes, sir. As it is now.
Which how high?
So coming from here, heading out towards Smithfield, as you go down the little dip where the dam is.
Yeah.
Take your foot off the gas. We're right there on the right.
On
the
salmon.
left.
No, on Salmon, on the right.
Oh, it's on Sam, okay.
Yeah, on Salmon.
Sorry about that. Yeah,
No, it's all
I know
good.
it now. Yeah. Good.
So Tall Pines is on the main road.
Yeah.
South Tall is the tee off the main,
Yeah.
well, the main camp road.
Okay. I know it is now. Thanks.
Now, can you go over again the height of the structure, the new structure is already there?
The existing or the new?
Let's do both again.
The existing structure is just under 17 feet and it sits about on the lakeside about 15 inches off of grade.
Okay.
The new structure, as tight as I could get it, was 20 foot 8 inches. So I'm gonna have to put it basically at grade.
So we clear the 25 feet.
That, I believe, conflicts with your profile drawings that you submitted from Ware Butler, which gives you a total height of 24 feet, 8 inches.
Which is fine, right?
Yep.
So
Okay.
the structure itself is 20 feet, 8 inches. And
Yeah, that was,
Yeah, but in terms of maximum height, they both count.
No,
No, that's
I had the
the,
same question.
that's
That's a
the crosswalk.
4 foot crosswalk, it's below grade.
Oh, that's below grade?
that's the 4 foot below grade to create a true
I asked
crosswalk.
Oh, okay, because it says top of foundation, but. Okay, that makes sense then. Thank you.
I think, maybe I'm not finding it, but it's about the only stat that we need that is not in this paper. We have to look at it in here, which is fine, but it would be cool, it would be all here, so easy to locate.
Well, yeah, it just requires us to
I'll
look
give
at
you
the
one,
drawings.
I'll give you one word in hands.
So, you gotta
It's
study it.
wonderful, this, the whole thing is great.
So what's the, between 25 and 75 feet, what's the height limit?
20 feet,
20 feet.
20 feet or the height of the structure, existing structure.
Right, and he's at 75, more than 75 feet back, right?
Within
not-
75,
Pardon?
within 75.
He's within.
Yeah, and this is within 75.
About someone said it'd be like 75, like mine. All right. All right, got it.
Yep. Yeah, because Pete, just so you know, I was trying to do the math when I was looking at the front sheet and I just wanted to clarify. And so, and he agreed that it is within 75 feet.
Okay,
Or I should say, within 100 feet,
good, well,
can't exceed 20 feet.
it's 75 feet to the lake is 20 feet height, then from 75 plus back 100. It's the greatest you can go up to 35 feet, whichever greater.
No, that's the state standard, but it's not our standard.
Oh, can we look that up? I didn't know we changed that. I thought we kept it with the state.
Go to page 10.
So if you go to page 10,
Page 10.
Pete, little I, not little I, excuse me. Oh, well, yeah, little I, so part of the camp is within 75 feet, right? So the maximum height of anything within 75 feet can't be more than 20 feet.
Right, right. But yeah, so none of it's in none of it's beyond 75 feet, right?
That is correct.
But it's all within the 25, all within 75 feet.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
I thought someone was saying here, it was, again, more than 75 feet back.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah.
If it is, then it's a different story. Okay, all right, I'm squared. Okay.
So, if I might interject, this construction proposal is a panel, right? It's a foam insulated panel, eco-friendly house.
The SIPs.
it's more than that, it's, well, if I can indulge you, it is one of Ware Butler's first completely panelized structures that's gonna be coming out of their Old Town factory. So it'll be coming with either 1.5 or 2 inch insulated zip panels. So when the structure arrives, because of the size of it, it'll basically arrive on a tractor trailer and should be assembled that day. Because the overall floor span is only 28 feet, even the subfloor or the first floor and the second floor will be entirely panelized.
So there's 2 trucks coming in. So
There's a crane and 1 truck. Tractor trailer will have it all, the whole building on 1 tractor trailer.
Really?
Yes, sir.
How's it gonna get that
And they'll
over
put it
the
together in one day, it's just like a Lego house.
Yeah,
How are they gonna get that over the highway?
because of the 8-foot walls, it sits on a traditional tractor trailer.
So it's sitting, it's building 28 feet wide, then?
So one wall, the biggest wall.
Right.
The biggest piece that's coming is 8 feet by 32 feet by about 6 inches deep. So they'll stack the north, south, east, west wall. They'll stack the floor. They'll stack the second floor walls on a tractor trailer, strap it down and take off. and
Oh,
go down
okay.
and come to
Oh, I
Belgrade.
thought it was kind of like.
No.
Okay.
So completely panelized.
Yeah,
And the point that I asked for the indulgence is, the goal was to make this a fully passive house. But because of the 20-foot code restriction, I can't get the insulation on the roof. The roof would have been about 8 inches taller, putting me at like 21 to 22 feet tall. So I'm not gonna be able to go after the passive house certification for basically a net zero house where the energy that we generate doesn't exceed what we're spending it. Well, because of the height restriction, I won't be able to get the R factor that is 2.5 times to 3 times more than the traditional R factor on the roof. So we're gonna do as much as we can to be a eco-friendly building, but we won't quite. There's no point going after the certification because I won't get it. But
But that one problem is it's still 8 inches too high.
Yeah.
So somehow we're gonna figure out how to drop that down.
Is there any way you can grade off? Without,
it is a perfectly flat lot right now.
Hmm.
And the sidewalls as it is on the second floor are only 6'6".
6 inches.
So at the outward wall, that
and, my background is technical, now you got me one. So you said that this house you wouldn't need any requirement, you would have that extra. You have no heating requirement.
we would have heating requirements. But at home, we have solar panels that would offset the energy that this camp is using will be offset by the energy I create at home. And that would basically mean that there would be no, we would be carbon neutral is the word
Yeah,
that
yeah.
we're using. All wood structure up in Madison. There's a company called Timber HP that is creating a wood biomass-based insulation. I've worked with Opal on a couple of projects here in Waterville and in other parts of the state. So I've already talked to them about putting this wood fiber insulation in. So that is another, once we insulate it, it'll have a locally grown insulation in the walls.
Yeah.
So we're pretty excited.
Besides this height, constraint or requirement that your home has is because of the design. It's, if you would have a different print, probably you could do the house shorter. You have I guess what I'm trying to get at, the goal of the passive home doesn't have that requirement of being 22 feet tall. It's just because of the footprint. that you
It's
have.
because we're looking at creating a pitched roof versus a flat shed roof. If we went with a flat shed roof and a modern looking, that my wife and I don't, and aesthetics doesn't really come into play in our discussion. But aesthetically, we don't like the looks of a modern square box shed roof. We're trying to create the camp very much to be what it is. So I don't even have a 12-12 pitch. It's a 9-12 pitch. And that's what helped me get that down. And even now on the outer walls, it's only going to be 6'6", just because I squished it as much as I can. I flattened the roof as much as I could, and I still couldn't get it down. The first plans come across at 23.9. And as soon as they came across, I shipped it back. Not even close. We gotta find some feet, gentlemen.
But it is interesting that you brought all this conversation in, because as part of the division of the planning board, maybe giving a slight waiver to these conditions that you up or down by few inches. I don't know how a few inches will break the mold, but you bring it to town, something that is zero emissions. That's huge.
And it's bigger than zero emissions. It's a wood structure. It's not creating any sustainable.
Yeah.
It's for the most part,
Yeah.
where Butler owns, Pleasant River, which is a large lumberyard. So even though the panels are being, made out of wood, it's Maine wood. The insulation will be made out of Maine wood. There, of course, the rubber tape and stuff that goes on the seals. There is some of that that's created, petroleum products, but for the most part, this will be a pretty sustainable camp. The best that I could do with the requirements that I understand. Falling within.
So what we're gonna do about those 8 inches?
Well, if we make a waiver, then we're setting a precedent.
Yeah, that's the
Well,
thing.
first off, we don't have the legal authority to waiver anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Waivers
Only
not
the
for
Court
us.
of Appeals does, but.
Well,
the,
the law, we can't, and if we did try to do it, we set a precedent. So that's
Right, and be
another
sued,
problem.
right.
I guess what I'm trying to.
Yeah, no, whatever we approve here, we have to be willing to live with for everybody else.
Right. Anyway, we move this camp back a little bit and to get, you're gonna do a total tear down, right? Anyway. Right,
So my answer is yes, total tear down.
like,
Excuse me, two of the walls are going back into the exact same location that they are now.
yeah, anyway, can you move the camp out of the 75 feet?
No,
Into the 76 plus, no way to do that.
No.
Maybe get part of the camp back there?
And said, no, why not?
if you look at the site map, you'll see that there's an existing bunkhouse that sits there, and then there's the holding tank. So right now, I am 10 foot and a bunch of inches from the holding tank as it is.
Right,
Yeah.
is that above ground holding tank or underground?
You know, it's underground.
His side lot line is, I believe, 89 feet.
Okay,
You
yes,
see the 75-foot designation goes through the barbecue shed.
Yeah,
The 100-foot designation is off his property.
just so you understand, the reason we're asking is there's a standard in the ordinance that for this kind of a situation where you're doing a tear down and rebuild of a non-conforming structure, we have to look at whether or not it can be moved back at all to the greatest practical extent. And that's why our questions.
now, this might sound odd to you, just
No,
trying to make this viable for you. Is there any way that, I know everything is flat, but on the footprint where this structure is gonna go, that you can go down 8 inches and sink your house in there?
So now,
I don't know if this is possible.
yeah, I don't have interest in creating a swimming pool for my first.
Oh, okay.
so a 9/12 pitch is 126 inches, and 8/12 is 112. That's 14 inches difference, so if you was to change from a 9 to 12/8. You could still keep your 6/6 or 6/8. I know it's gonna be a little flatter, it's gonna be. But if you change from a 9/12 to an 8/12, you'd be able to gain the distance that you needed
And,
to make it
okay,
work.
and on the sidewall, would, instead of being,
It would be the
It
same.
would not change.
okay, that's a possibility.
And it's more of the other roof, the 412 pitch, because that would have to change too. That's what's
Now I
driving
have
it.
changed down to 3 probably or something like that.
Because again, with the 6'6" wall, I wasn't comfortable going any lower than 6'6" on the clearing space.
Right,
That's what got us to a 412, which is basically considered a sloped roof. Once you go below a 412, it's pretty much considered a flat roof.
yeah, it's not really a flat roof. What are you putting on for roof, and shingles or metal?
Standing seam.
Yeah, so, I just had to do a 2.5, on the porch coming up on the one that I did, because it had to hit below the windows. So, it's not ideal, but that's the only way you're gonna fit it underneath there. Switch from a 9/12 to an 8/12 or an 8.5 12, because that's 14 inches and you only need 8 of it. So, you could even go to an 8.5 or 8 3/8 or whatever. And still get your clearance. And then they drop it down to 3, the 3 is still acceptable. Oh, yeah, dormers. It was still clear off, I just watched it all clear off today.
So if we could back up just a little bit, first of all, Craig, thanks for being able to do those calculations right there that hopefully can give you an idea about what we're looking for relative to the ordinance, right? For some options. And hopefully something can mesh with the two suggestions and can work for you. But I just want to come back to the fact that there was talk about a waiver.
Yeah.
Right, and then we want to reiterate that we can't do that, we don't have the authority to do that. I'm just gonna put it out there, if this were denied for some reason and someone wanted to go to the appeals board for something, I guess that would be an option. I don't know that you'd have a lot of opportunity there. Because we would have to meet one of two criteria, and I don't think hardship would come on and into play in this case, that'd be one of them. And we're trying to not make any administrative mistakes, so I don't. I mean, something could happen, but just want to let you know where we're coming from with this.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, and I looked at it because I knew that the first number started with 20 feet, but I know it didn't end with 0. So although it is, the code says 20 foot and I'm 20 foot 8 inches. I knew we would have a discussion about that.
Okay.
In the same breath, I've worked construction across Maine and New England for the last 30 years. And when my wife recommended that we rebuild the camp, and I told her that we would be meeting with planning, I would have to get subcontractors involved, and we would get started this fall. She turned to me and said, I've sat next to you for the last 15 years and heard you make commitments to clients that you were gonna get this done at any cost in the next 6 months. And I expect to be in my camp June 1st.
So no pressure.
Work the best I can,
Yeah.
and not have to get into a discussion about going to the appeals, because I know
Okay.
that will jeopardize a June 1st occupancy.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I put that out there, so board members, please tell me if I've gone down any wrong path. I just want to make sure to level set expectations for you as we go through this process. Okay, that's real
Thank you, I
important.
appreciate that.
You're very welcome. So we talked about waiver, not our gig. Going to appeals board for something,
Not my gig.
I'm not seeing it, right? So therefore, we're left with what we have, right, which is the ordinance as it reads. The spirit and letter talk about the dimensions we already have, limits we already have talked about, which is 20 feet at that distance from the normal high water mark. I think Craig was talking some great language there, and as a fellow construction person,
They weren't great to me.
you're catching it all, right?
Yes, they weren't great to me.
So,
Yeah. And to drop your, first floor height down a few inches. Gain some there. And, I would like to see you go to 20 foot 8, looks good.
It looks awesome, I'm saying.
And I knew I was splitting hairs when I walked in here, but it started with 20 feet.
a good start.
The dimension started with 20 feet, so.
So as a whole, what about the rest of the stuff, other than the height, is that gonna be all? It looks pretty good to me.
Yeah, I didn't have.
Anything else other than just the height restriction?
From a structural perspective, I didn't have anything else that was going on. I didn't have any other questions from a structure perspective. I have a couple of application questions, but.
In terms of the main camp, I don't, I have questions about other parts of the application.
Okay, so, we should discuss those, so at least we know.
Yep, precisely. So, if you don't mind, a couple of things I want to make sure I asked about. And maybe it's in here, but I didn't see it, Hans, I don't know. But, it looks like this place was purchased, if I'm not mistaken, in 2019. Correct? And on the application, it says, if after 11/6/18, please attach a copy of the septic system inspection report. Do we get that? Do you know?
So the existing 2,000 gallon holding tank was installed in October of 19. Through Gary and Jason Stevens did it. So that system is quote unquote brand new since we purchased the property. We basically put it in right afterwards. So all of that record is on file.
Okay, I'm just saying we need it for.
Yeah,
It's in the.
we'll need a
Just
copy of that
holding
permit.
tank, there's no
There's no.
site
There's no
plan.
field. There's nothing to it.
So
You can provide
Yeah.
that for us.
I trust what you're saying. I just want to make sure that we, from a process
Yeah.
perspective, say, let's have it here. That way.
Because by definition in our ordinance, a holding tank is still considered a subsurface wastewater disposal system.
I guess.
So we either need
Okay,
an inspection or we need the permit for issuing. And that raises another follow-up question, if I may, Peter. So the number of bedrooms are being increased from 3 with 2 more added to a total of 5. Does that make any difference in terms of the fact that it was installed for 3?
The holding tank?
Yeah,
No,
in terms of the alarm system or anything like that.
the alarm goes off, she makes a phone call.
Right.
I mean, it's not something, if you notice, these, I was concerned with that 2 doors, and on the map, you'll see a holding tank is pretty much right below the barbecue pit. And, pretty sure he's not gonna allow any spillage, if that's what he's cooking his food.
Well, that speaks to the moving to the greatest practical extent too, because there's only 5 feet there.
right.
Yeah, so.
So, the amount of bedrooms is the size of a leach field.
Right, yeah, no, I knew
So when
that.
you don't have any leach field.
It's irrelevant. It's just,
Yeah.
you have to pump it more.
Right.
More phone calls.
Thanks, Greg.
We got the honey wagon.
I just wanted to make sure there wasn't any other requirements there in the plumbing code.
And the other thing I wanted to mention, on the application, I did not see a certified contract, number listed, so we would need that
Yeah,
information.
since you're proposing a frost wall
Okay. For the site work,
for the excavation work, right?
okay,
Yeah, being ski certified.
I can have that in the morning.
Yeah.
Or I can text him now.
You're gonna use Jason again or
Actually not.
no?
Jason, I would like to, but, my wife's family, we're from Cumberland.
Yeah.
My wife's family has a, large excavation company,
Oh,
and they have some property up in Emden. So he's literally gonna, on his way to Emden, bring a truck and a excavator and put this in for us.
so. So those are the only 2 things I had. Did you have some other follow-up questions to?
I have some just minor things. A question for you, actually, Hans. Do we not use the application number system anymore?
Well, I was using a permit, I didn't know, I
Okay,
don't record the applications.
okay. I just asked because
There
it
is,
used to be the system.
actually, iWork does assign one.
Okay,
So, in his iWork, which he used, I didn't bring that piece of paper here, because you all don't like it very much, but it has a number on it.
Okay.
well, the only other minor thing is the application isn't signed.
You know,
Neither,
your copy's not the original.
and the packet copy isn't either.
Right, because he arrived, we paid, and he signed.
Okay,
That's right.
that's all. As long as it's
The ink
been
is still wet on that.
signed and certified.
Okay. So thanks for those questions. Does anybody else have anything else to bring up? No? Okay. So do you know where we're coming from at this point? We're looking at a height restriction that the ordinance clearly identifies, right? So from my perspective, I could not vote in favor of approving it as is. And I would not, if someone moved to do it, I would just move. So, so therefore be looking for a revision of this.
And you're not, have the authority to approve as noted or as documented in this public hearing.
Are you saying to approve as noted, even though it would exceed the?
No, I'm saying that this organization approved the application with the restriction that a revised building height no more than 20 foot 0 inches
Oh,
is submitted.
a condition of
Condition of
approval?
approval.
We do use conditions of approval frequently, but I'm gonna offer you this, that there are other things that we will still need. So in those things that we just talked about, so absent the signature, because we've already signed that, right? So the DEP certified contract number, the copy of the septic system inspection report document, then that's not malfunctioning or whatever we have on file, right, for that. We would just need those things.
And do you require his presence? We put it on the next agenda, and those things were here, the holding tank footprint from the file, and a set of plans that have the dimensions changed. Those were submitted without Bert having to make the trip.
As far as I'm concerned, no.
Yeah.
I don't want to burn up your time,
Yeah.
you know, because you've already spent significant time getting this all
Yeah.
together.
Don't see, if we are approving, don't see have at least to show through Zoom or something like that? Or
Yeah, you can
we don't have
do
to-
it.
Yeah, doesn't have to be present.
So, I don't know, as far as I'm concerned, why couldn't we do it with conditions tonight? Because we already have prints, and I don't see why it's a straight pipe to a holding tank. It was done in 2019. So an inspection doesn't.
Right, there would be no inspection, it'd just be that.
Yeah, it would just be
Yeah,
the.
so we have that in the town.
Yeah, we've got.
Yeah.
So that's a non-issue. So the only real issue is the certified contractor number.
In the height.
And the height. So why can't we do that on a condition of approval that he can't start construction before we get a new? We do it with everything else, so all we need is a new print that's under 220 feet or at 20
At
feet.
20, yep.
So why couldn't we? I mean, if that's the only thing holding us back. I don't see why it's any different than asking for a certified contractor number before you start. This
Oh,
paperwork.
no, no,
I can live with that.
I can too.
Yeah, I can live with that.
no.
It's just Hans, in the future, you know, the ordinance says very specifically that we're not to issue a permit without the subsurface wastewater disposal permit as part of the application. And that's not to say I just, you know, disagree. It's just that we need, you know, we wouldn't even have to have this discussion if that was part of the permit application, that is.
So I think we can make some progress, right, based on our discussion, right? And you know where we're coming from, I think, on this, right? It's just to,
1000%. I've been very open with you. I walked in here knowing I was 20 foot 8 inches.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So I would make a motion to approve the permit with a few conditions. And one of the conditions would be the certified contractor number before they start. The second condition would be a revised set of prints. That the elevation is no higher than 20 feet from the lowest point of the ground. And
Prior to construction.
prior to construction. And the third one would be the septic holding tank design, which Hans can provide before the start of construction as well. So I would say I'd like to move with those three conditions to approve this permit.
I'll second. that
Thank you,
motion.
Greg. Yeah, and seconded. So motion and seconded. Any more discussion? Anybody have any questions? And you know where we're coming from in this, right? Great. All right. Hans?
So you email the plans,
Well,
probably a week or so.
After we vote.
I don't know.
So we don't have to go
I've
to
got
the, don't we have a, the paperwork that we fill out that you ask all those questions?
We do.
Right.
We have the findings of fact. and-
Find the fact.
Yeah,
Let me get-
for this. So that's,
And you'll have the drawings landing tomorrow. And I'm hoping the contractor number before we leave.
so from a process perspective, we have a motion on the floor to approve, and it's been seconded,
Right,
right?
we kind of got ahead of ourselves.
We kind of did, and we have more discussion, so I think it's still okay.
Yeah, let's just, kind of put it over here for now.
Yeah, park it. So part of our discussion will be the findings of fact and conclusions of law, which is a little bit out of order, but that's okay. We'll work it, right? So we'll go through that. So this is the administrative thing that we are bound to do through law.
I'm well educated, Peter, thank
Okay,
you.
you're very welcome.
Yeah.
And it's terribly bureaucratic and very exciting to go through.
Yeah,
So I know you might.
if you want to take a nap, go right ahead.
We'll perfectly understand.
So this is my second meeting with this group. My last meeting, I was the second item on the agenda, and I got to listen to an hour of the solar panel discussion.
Oh, lucky you.
First or second meeting about solar, I missed it the second, because it was a long discussion.
Yeah, it was. Thank you.
Yeah, you look familiar.
So we'll get through this part in just one second.
Of course.
Hey. And
I told Brad I was gonna be home by 7:30.
optimistic, yeah, I know. Yeah, so I wanted to say personally, I'm excited and enthusiastic about what your plans are to do from an environmental perspective. It's very forward thinking, so thank you for putting that out there.
And if I had another 4 feet, we put solar panels right on this building.
Solar panels don't count towards maximum height
No.
any more than chimney does.
Well, that's an interesting revelation. I did everything I could to find that answer. And I forgot to bring that up, but
Well, that's my interpretation. The ordinance
the
was,
ordinance reads chimneys, television antennas.
Yeah.
I think it lists one other thing.
right, that is not specific. You're absolutely correct about that, but I see solar panels as similar to antenna. It's an addendum. It's not really part of the main structure. I don't know, Craig, how you might see that, but you think that differently, and that's an interpretation
No,
of my
I don't
part.
mind. I think that's where solar panels ought to go, with on roofs.
Thank you.
But you're talking 4 feet higher?
I honestly don't know. And what I really need to do,
Higher or something.
once I'm approved, I need to go back to my solar panel manufacturer and have them come out and do the survey. Because I'm gonna be at that 310 pitch, there's considerable canopy. So is it even viable?
Oh, yeah, right.
Because of the
You might have-
canopy,
I'd see.
you know, and because of the angle of the roof and where the sun, where we sit, I don't know that I would get the efficiency out of it that I need to maintain.
Yeah,
If I can, yeah, they're what, 5.5, 6 inches, and they sit about a foot off, so. They're probably 2 to 2.5 feet. With the standing seam being 4 inches.
I think that's something we need to,
Yeah, we probably should talk about some more, maybe even ask DEP about it.
because I have no problem with panels going on. But if, they start tilting them.
Yeah,
off,
right. I didn't think about that
Yeah.
for a situation like yours.
But if they can lay on the roof and be, streamlined a foot or so, whatever,
Yeah, right. Pretty unobtrusive.
then I'm all good with that.
Yeah.
From the ground, you'd never know the difference, because it's
I
a
should
black.
probably shouldn't have been so
a black
quick to
panel.
open my
Right.
mouth.
You'd never see it.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, Craig.
So the standard language that we use for it, I want to go ahead a little bit. For each of the conditions, you say something like, based on application submission materials and so, how did we say that? How did we say that before?
The public record.
Public record. Public. So we use that phrase over and over, so I just want to
We
make
should
sure.
have a stamp.
I know. I can't. Okay, So here are the findings of fact and conclusions of law. This is for W. Burt Keesaw, applicant address 6 Tall Pines Lane. Map 46 lot 8, the applicants on today's date applied for a shoreline permit for. The purpose listed is to replace the existing camp and bunkhouse maintenance. The application was presented to the planning board on 1/19/2023. That's under this item 1. Item 2, conclusions of law based upon the application materials, testimony, statements, evidence, documents, and other materials submitted to it. And the above findings of fact that Belgrade Planning Board finds that the project is permitted to links existing camp. So permitted to replace the existing camp, and then bunkhouse maintenance. Under section 14, table 1 in the ordinance, and further makes the following conclusions based on the applicable provisions in section 16D of this ordinance. So that number 1, that this will maintain safe and healthful conditions. By a vote, the board found this standard was met based on application submission materials in the public record. So in favor of that, this standard was met, so safe and healthful conditions. So Pete?
Yeah.
Yes. Sarah?
Yes,
Craig? George?
Yes,
So 5 in favor, none opposed. 2, will not result in water pollution, erosion, or sedimentation to surface waters. These those surface waters. So by a vote, the board found this standard was met. So Pete,
Yes.
Sarah,
yes,
Craig,
Yes.
George,
yes, with the condition that the information about the DEP's contractor be provided.
gotcha. Then 3, will adequately provide for the disposal of all wastewater. So we have a condition on that one, so. By a vote, the board found this standard was met. So this is for the disposal of wastewater. So Pete,
Yes.
Sarah,
yes,
Craig,
Yes, with the condition.
thank you. George, yes.
Same as Craig, yes.
Same. Um, Great, thank you. 4, will not have an adverse impact on spawning grounds, fish, aquatic life, bird, or other wildlife habitat. By a vote, the board found this standard was met. So Pete,
Yes, it was that.
Sarah,
yes,
Craig, George,
Yes,
5-0. 5, will conserve shore cover and visual as well as actual points of access to inland water. So by a vote, the board found this standard was met. So Pete,
Yes.
Sarah,
yes,
Craig, George,
yes,
5-0.
Mr. Chairman, at what point would it be beneficial to interrupt you and provide the DEP license number?
Yeah, but I'm glad you got a response back.
Keep rolling then.
Okay, great. 6, will protect archaeological and historic resources as designated in the comprehensive plan. So by a vote, the board found this standard was met. So this is archaeological and historic resources. So Pete,
Yes.
Sarah,
yes,
Craig, George,
yes,
5 in favor, none opposed. 7, will avoid problems associated with floodplain development and use. By a vote, the board found this standard was met. So floodplain,
Yeah.
yeah, Pete,
Yes,
Sarah, Craig and George.
Yes,
Is in conformance with provisions 15 land use standards. So by a vote, the board found that this standard was met based on evidence in the record and further as follows. We have a number to go through. Bert will go through all of those first. Most don't apply, some will. We'll vote on those that do. So A, minimum lot standards. I'm thinking that's NA. Does anybody, they're all good? NA?
Right.
Principal and accessory structure, the only thing was the bunkhouse maintenance, and that was,
Right, the principle too, though, right?
yep, principal and accessory, so that would be yes. Campgrounds. NA, individual private campsites, NA. Commercial and industrial uses, NA. Parking areas, no changes to parking areas, right? So, and, is it NA or?
Yeah. I think so.
I would say so. Roads and driveways. NA, signs. Stormwater runoff.
That'll have to be handled by a condition.
Yeah, we have a standard condition for runoff. Septic waste disposal systems. And the paperwork is here, so that's good. K, essential services. NA. Next, mineral exploration and extraction. NA. Agriculture. NA. Timber harvesting and land management roads. NA. Clearing or removal of vegetation for activities other than timber harvesting. Is that NA?
Yes.
Hazard trees, storm damaged trees, and dead tree removal. Are there any of that proposed?
Possibly one.
Is it a hazard tree, storm damaged tree, or dead tree? Okay, so I would say NA relative to that, but I hear what you're saying about the possibility of the one. Exemptions to clearing and vegetation removal requirements. So exemptions to clearing and vegetation removal requirements.
That's NA.
Doesn't.
Revegetation requirements. If there's a big tree that goes down in that area, is there any requirement?
He's still got half his canopy left.
Gotcha, he's not exceeded that, right? So we're NA here. S, erosion and sedimentation control, that would apply. Shoreline stabilization.
NA.
Yeah,
Nothing's being proposed down there. Soils.
NA.
Water quality. Yes.
Yes.
Say yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Historical and archaeological sites. And A, and then resource protection. This is not a slope area at all. It's the exact opposite of that. So I'm gonna say NA. Okay, next. We have conditions of approval needed to meet required this ordinance findings in section 16D. We have a couple of standing conditions. One, manage stormwater runoff from new or expanded structures in accordance with section 15I of the Belgrade Shoreline Zoning Ordinance and the Maine Department of Environmental Protection's best management practices as outlined in the conservation practices for homeowners publication. Such measures are to be put in place prior to building use. This is a standard standing condition that applies to all permits unless deemed unnecessary by the planning board. And does anybody have any rationale that we would not need this? Okay, I don't think so. Great. Second standing condition is this, that the planning board's approval of this project is limited to that described in the application and depicted in the accompanying site plan and other application submissions. Any changes to or deviations from the application site plan or other application submissions as approved by the planning board must receive prior approval by the board, including but not limited to changes into the proposed location, footprint, and height of structures, changes in the number of bedrooms, roads and driveways, parking, wells, subsurface wastewater disposal systems, and the extent and location of vegetated areas, tree cutting and natural vegetation clearing, methods of soil erosion control, and stormwater runoff control. No, this is a standard condition of approval for all. For all shoreline zoning permits. And I see no rationale. There's nothing to do about that. All right, then, going back to the motion,
Yes.
right? That was seconded. We had three conditions.
So, yeah, so now we're down to one.
Right,
Right.
yeah, so we could, if I may, we could ask him to fill in the DEP contractor name and number on the application, initial and date it, do away with that condition.
We've got the fence.
And we have the information on the tank now, so that goes away. And I just have one clarification question before we move on.
Okay. So. We've corrected or satisfied two of the conditions, that's good, so we have one, right, left over now.
Yeah, this came to mind when we're going through the long list of, regarding, vegetation cutting. Did I hear you correctly say that, the 8-inch diameter tree that's shown to be cut on the site plan is no longer gonna be cut, or is that an option that you still want?
I put a worst case scenario, and as the foundation was being installed, the root bank concerned me. We are trying, my wife loves the trees. We're doing everything we can not to lose any trees.
But you might,
We might lose that.
okay, I just want to make sure there isn't.
diameter Pine tree.
But we're still under the canopy.
Yeah.
Still under the canopy.
That takes care of my question, thank you. Yeah, I just want to make sure that what we're approving is what's shown on the site plan.
Great, so we have two conditions, and I think we want to make sure we document that third one, so. If you don't mind helping me, I'll just write it as you said it, and it was the providing the.
Providing an updated revised print showing the height 20 feet or less.
Provide updated revised,
Or no, not exceeding 20 feet.
okay. So provide updated revised site plan,
No,
Elevation.
elevation.
Building, building elevation.
House plans. Not exceeding 20 feet
Prior to construction.
prior to construction.
okay, hopefully I've written it down correctly, so provide an updated revised elevation print for the structure. To not exceed 20 feet prior to construction. It makes sense? You good with that?
Yep.
I'm feeling my English teacher's coming out.
Oh,
No, no,
okay.
getting at it.
Well,
But
I'll
I'm
leave
not
you
gonna-
to,
I'm not gonna-
I'll leave you to battle those
Yeah,
statements.
I know, I
but,
know.
Craig, would you, normally, we oftentimes will say, to the code enforcement officer, rather than,
Right, providing to the,
yeah.
Okay, yes,
to the code enforcement. So, the,
So I put in, provided to the CEO. So provide updated revised elevation print for the structure to the CEO. To not exceed 20 feet prior to construction.
Well, about it, permit could be an issue.
Prior to the permit being issued.
I mean, I'll handle it.
Okay,
You
all right,
can leave it as it is.
all right, awesome.
That sure makes more sense.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Okay. So we've had a good discussion about this. We've had a motion on the floor and seconded. We've had more discussion after going through the findings of fact and conclusions of law. We've received more information that satisfied two of the original conditions, so it's been satisfied. So that leaves the third, which we've now included on this. On this findings of fact and conclusions of law. So now we have those. So are we ready to vote? Any other questions?
Hmm.
No, okay, great. So all those in favor of approving this application as submitted with the conditions of approval that have been stated, both standing and the one other additional one. All those in favor? So Pete,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes,
Craig, George,
Yes,
I too am in favor. So based on the above findings of fact and conclusions of law on today's date, 1/19/23. Town Planning Board by approved by a vote of 5-0. The shoreline permit application of. I'm putting your name down, Bert. With the above conditions and at a meeting on. Let's see, developed. Seems funny. We might be missing a couple words. Going to the next page, develop these findings of fact and conclusions of law on remand from the Belgrade Board of Appeals and adopted these findings on today's date. So it has been approved. So we're looking forward to hearing from you on the revised plans.
Excellent.
Submit to the CEO.
you're probably familiar with DEP stormwater standards, but if you're not, the ones that are referenced there, you can get a link on the town website. We used to hand out a pamphlet, but we went electronic, but or find it on the DEP website.
My contractor, my sewer contractor, that's all they do.
Yeah, okay.
The biggest
So
one,
figured that.
the most common is just press down on the line.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah, yes,
Yeah,
It's only
that's,
missing, right?
that's what we're referring to.
right.
That one thing will take care of what that condition is.
yeah.
Okay.
I've already got it figured out. I appreciate everybody's time. I appreciate your commitment to Belgrade and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Updated information on in the next couple of days.
Yeah.
Very good.
Good luck.
Enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Thank you. Good luck.
how far you have to drive?
Don't tell my wife, but I can make it in 55 minutes. I appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Be
Thank
well.
Good drive.
Thank you, Bert.
Yeah, thank you. Be well.
Right, statement.
What was that next?
Sure.
We'll make sure to circulate. Thank you.
Yeah, is that a with them?
Is blue okay? That's-
Yeah, blue's legally okay,
That's blue.
just no red.
Pink is out.
Pink's out,
Pink's right. up.
yellow's really out.
And white would be terrible.
Thank you.
Yes. Invisible ink.
Yeah.
That's awesome, that.
I think so. You know, hold
I
on.
just, and, you know,
Well, I had read something in the newspaper about that
oh, never mind.
new Ware Butler facility. And I'm not sure, but I think it's that mill that you see off the interstate when you're heading north from Old Town. There's a
Oh,
an old saw, it's been there for a gazillion years, but it's been expanded, and I think that might be it.
How did Hammond Lumber let that happen?
What's that?
How did Hammond Lumber let that happen?
Let that happen?
Yeah.
And they had no,
Oh.
like a wildfire.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, who
Maybe
knows
slow level
what-
service, with them it's level of service.
I mean, they seem to focus mostly on retail, so.
They, there was an outfit in Oakland and made cabinets. And they purchased them. Now they moved that outfit to Detroit, Maine.
I think one of the other companies like Hancock might be doing, has a facility like that in southern Maine. I think I read that too.
thanks very much.
Greg, do you know, does Hancock Lumber also have a facility like the one you described where Butler having in southern
I'm not
Maine?
sure. That's kind of the first I've heard of Ware Butler, but I know since Ware Butler's been sold, they've bought. There's been a lot of changes and
Yeah,
it's growing fast.
yeah, I didn't know they owned Pleasant Lumber.
That's where, I think that's where it started.
Okay,
When was
The
it
owner.
Butler? So when did that transaction?
2 or 3 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And the guy that owns. Is it Pleasant Lumber or? Can't remember, but he's got a lot of lumber mills and he's big time.
I think he wasn't the original owner of Pleasant Lumber, but he did sell it not too long ago, is one of the Strattons from Stratton Lumber in Eustis. And I only know that because we went to this past fall, Becky and I went to Quill Hill, which is outside of Rangeley, and there's a signage there about him because he developed that.
Oh, yeah.
And I think dead now, but but last time I went by, I don't know, is it Sangerville or wherever the heck they have a mill up that way? And it's a good sized mill.
So it says Pleasant River Lumber buys Ware Butler Incorporated.
Oh, it's the other way around. Oh, okay,
Understand.
okay. Interesting. Well, I this past fall, a couple times went past the old Madison paper plant that's, where they're rebuilding, turning it into that insulation facility, and Chimber's got, like 3 cranes up there. They're really going gung ho.
And there's another thing going on too. Up in Bingham, there's a plywood plant.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, 100 people up there.
Interesting.
I had heard about that.
Yeah,
Oh, I hadn't heard about that.
that's,
Yeah.
that's good for both places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're both, once the mill shut down in Madison, that was a lot of jobs.
Yeah,
A lot of
yeah, sure was.
That hurt.
Yeah,
Trying to find the guy's name in the TV.
yeah, that's right.
But interesting stuff, yeah. Well, thanks, everybody. Let's tackle the agenda. It is.
And why are we here?
I know. What's my name? So the next item, I know, really, I know. Bert's expecting you at 7:30. We gotta
7:30.
roll. Next up is the planning board charter review. So we did hear back from Philip Sauce here.
Well, we haven't sent this yet. This is a draft.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is two. Oh, okay. Yes, so thank you, George, for this draft. That's what it is. And so Craig, you may have caught up a little bit. I don't know if you're able to do. So we had this discussion last week about basically, what's our gig for a planning board? There were some things that were in conflict, and as George has outlined in here, we have a recommendation on this one. So, but we wanted to ask Philip Saucier about the legality of this, because it's kind of a pickle, really. It really is.
Well, and there's some uncertainty too.
Yeah.
Can you want to, review this, petition that we're gonna send to the lawyer?
I would like to review it, but it basically is taking a lot of what we talked about last time, memorialized it,
You want me to nitpick?
summarized it.
What's that?
You want me to nitpick?
Pick some nits, go for it. What do you have?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean,
I'm gonna be Mr. Baker tonight.
you have edits or something of substance.
Okay, it's a silly thing, but it's just, there's 2 points after 1991 in number 3. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, there's a extra period in there.
Yeah, it's extra period there. It's simple stuff, but you know, this is gonna go to a lawyer and I want you to look good.
Let's see if he catches it. He will, he's that good. All right, what else, Sarah, do you have?
I saw that and it really came out of the papers. Well, I'm getting, you guys, they say that people that work together alone, they mixed up their habits and their scale, so to speak. Well, I'm Mr. Baker tonight.
I mean, the other thing too, people should review this with a mind towards is make sure that I've captured all the questions that we need answers to.
I think you did.
Yeah, I think so too.
So what are the questions? 5-year terms for certain board members? Is that it?
So it's really, in addition to the 5 questions at the end, it's the opening paragraph, plus those 5 questions that we're asking for advice on.
That was the only thing I found, George. It's awesome. Yeah,
Rich would, if he was here, he'd find something else.
I know. I still have time. Match up to
I'm
him.
surprised word spell check didn't capture that.
What type of, what letter type is this? What, word type? Yeah, letter type,
Oh, font,
on the font,
probably Arial, maybe?
area. So,
I think that's what our word is set
It's
to.
clean.
it's clean and crispy.
Yeah, it is.
That's what we always use at DEP.
So Craig, if you looked at on page 1 here, where it then has the 3 things, under 3, to me, when you look at the last sentence here,
Mhm.
that really spells out what could be a problem. And it's really the reason why we're asking for legal advice.
So, Turn 3-year and 5-year terms.
Well, yes, but it's really a result of the fact that the charter that was set up by the Board of Selectmen conflicts with the pre-law, pre-1971 law. Yes, it does also, you know, the 3 versus 5-year terms are part of it. Trying to make sure we have an understanding of how we originated. And was it done in error or not? It's gonna be real important.
Well, you get the 1991 law change. It went to 5 years. There's a lot of things here.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna just say, in some of the discussion at the last meeting when you weren't here, we talked a little bit about, well, you know, where might this lead to? And I had made some suggestions that, one, first, we seek some legal advice, see, you know, where we stand, and then based on what that tells us, then we can make a decision as a board whether, let's say the advice comes back and says, the pre-1971 law that was in effect when this board was established by town meeting. Since that's been repealed, you need to do something under the current law. Or whatever whatever we need to do, then I think we should, invite the town manager to a meeting and kind of brief her. And come up with some recommendations and then ultimately bring it to the select board. Because we can't just, if we needed for example, for legal reasons, needed to reestablish this board, we'd have to, it'd be an ordinance and it would have to go through the whole process. Any ordinance would to get adopted. I mean, one of the questions when I was going through this, thinking about it more, that I had, that we didn't really discuss is, so, this board was established under a law that goes all the way back to the 1950s. And then was repealed in 1971, just 1 year after this board was established. It allowed for boards like Belgrade's to continue to operate under the old law, but is that in perpetuity? I mean, there seems like there's a disconnect there. Usually that's not the case. There's some time limit or something. There's nothing expressed, but anyway, there are a bunch of questions that, I personally wouldn't know how to proceed without getting some advice on.
So when we talked about this, Craig, we were thinking that it would be real important to get that good, solid legal footing about what it is this board can do and the makeup of it and the term length and all that, rather than just not addressing it and then having some other legal issues about all decisions made since then. That would be a real problem. So that's kind of the reason for it, trying to make sure we're on solid ground. So that's where we are with this. As a result of that discussion, we had these questions that are specific. And they're outlined here. And I think Philip, he's the man to answer these things, and
Yeah.
I believe he'll give us a quick turnaround. So I guess first of all, are there any other edits about the questions? Okay, so
Very good.
are we in favor that we want to move this forward and send it off to Philip? Yeah. Are we good with that? So.
Yeah, I think we should vote on it.
It's an agenda item, so I think let's vote on it. So I would entertain a motion on this, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the draft of letter to be sent to Philip Saucier, or the town lawyer, to make recommendations on reestablishing, the possible reestablishing of the Belgrade Planning Board under the current statute.
Thank you. So we have a motion on the floor. Second, any more discussion? My only question is, once we, because I'm thinking we're gonna approve this, George, do you want me to send it to?
Mary Goldman.
Mary, or what?
No, well, what we have been doing, unless
He's done it.
somebody's changed the process, and I'm not aware of it, is, well, first off, I'll make the edit that, and the correction, and, but I think, well, maybe Hans could email it to the attorney on your behalf, Peter.
I'm fine with that.
If, I could make this edit, send it to you, and if you could pass it on to Phil with the attachments that are in the packet.
Is that,
I don't know, that's just one suggestion, if you
is that,
don't think that's.
I'm here to assist the board, so that's assisting the board.
Yeah.
But you want me to copy Lorna?
I was just gonna ask. would you
Yeah.
Please CC Lorna and CC the board members.
And Mary Vogel too, since she
Yeah.
did some of the research for this.
Yeah.
Just as a courtesy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Lauren, Mary, everybody on the board.
Yep.
And
Yeah, that way, you know, Lauren is not taken by surprise. Again, a courtesy.
and I believe they are included in the planning board group
Okay,
mailing, so,
Okay,
but I'll make sure.
all right. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And that's after you.
yeah, I'll
What do you want? to do?
make the edit that, no, I'll take care of it and I'll send it to you.
All right,
Yep, email it to you, and also I'll take draft off of it.
thank you.
That'd be good. All right, so all those in favor, so Pete,
Yes.
yes, Sarah,
Yes,
Craig, George,
Yes,
me too, 5-0, all in favor, so you'll see that shortly. So thank you very much, George, and I really appreciate the legal kind of thinking that went into it and research just to get us to this point. I'd like to hope that by doing this type of inquiry, that we avoid disaster later.
yeah, right,
And
absolutely.
George, when I send that email that you revise, you want me to send these as a attachment?
Yeah, he'll need that as background, so he understands the questions.
Okay, so if that's the case, we've taken care of old business. We do have minutes to attend to and then the CEO update. Want to do the CEO update first, then we'll do the minutes?
Okay,
Any updates? Hans?
CEO update, we did, you have a copy of the new shoreline zoning map. It is absent, we. The slope and the other things that, I guess, Rich didn't want, or, I'm not sure who wanted, but basically just three shades, color shades, we moved.
Thank you.
The one around the little pond over here,
Right,
the wetland thing is gone, and as well as the steep slope designation, so it makes it more relevant to us.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And if this is approved, as it is now, just tell Lorna to spend the money.
Okay,
so it sounds like we need to
well,
approve it.
right.
How much is it gonna cost?
And the price is still the same, whatever it was, and if you
Because we
have
checked
money
on that.
budgeted,
Yep.
and it's under. It's well under the budgeted amount.
What was it? So
I don't remember.
my question would be, Rich was kind of the spearhead of all this, and he knows the most about it. Should we table a vote until he's able to look at it, and participate? Or is that an issue?
That's a good question, Greg, and I appreciate that, because he was here last time when we talked about this. We talked about this map, and we were able to, I don't want to speak for everybody else, but it was my feeling that he felt comfortable with it, with the removal of the things that Hans just summarized, which it's hard to envision, but the map prior to the removal had like 3 more things in the legend and some more colors on the map.
Yeah, it was an environmental advisory area, a high sensitivity advisory area, and high sensitivity / slope advisory area.
So
So
last-
our advisory areas, they weren't really.
Yeah, they don't mean anything.
The last meeting, you guys already went over this, and he was all good with that.
But thank you for thinking of him.
Yeah,
He is a
I
great
would
resource.
say just, I would side with Craig to keep it till he comes back and just give him, the benefit of the doubt like that. It's just a nice court, we don't have to do it right.
So, I mean, if he was fine with, this is what the result of last week when he was here, I'm fine with moving on.
Okay. I just want to let you know, I feel comfortable moving on, knowing that Rich participated last time. And specifically with the 3 things were tackled. So for that reason, I feel comfortable. So, let's see, I would say let's have a motion on this, because this is a big deal.
I'll make a motion to, approve for payment. This has a date on it or anything, but, this version of, right, it isn't a revision,
Yes, we
this,
reckon-
this shoreline zoning map.
As presented to us on the
As
19th.
presented on this date.
I like that. We can work with that because that's specific to this one. Right, so we've got a motion
I second it.
and second. Any more discussion?
Hmm.
Only one I have is, Hans, did we talk about assuring that you and the town receive the big printout map? We did, right?
36 by 48.
Yeah, precisely.
Because laminated.
Yeah, yeah, because once we get that, then we in a public forum can go over this with the applicant and with each other a lot easier. So,
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, this is a nice little reference
mhm.
version, but, you know, in terms of making decisions about a specific lot or something of that nature, very difficult to work with this scale.
Okay, so that was my only discussion point. Anything else? Any other discussion? So all those in favor? So Pete?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yeah,
Craig? George?
Yes,
You too, 5 in favor, none opposed. Thank you very much. So you want me to email Lorna?
The request to purchase the 36 by 48 laminated or whatever closest to that.
whatever you, the laminate.
Okay, I guess if it costs too much, we can
Yeah.
send it out ourselves and have it
We
laminated.
can spray it with varnish ourselves.
The epoxy for the wall.
Yeah, all right.
So I'm gonna ask her to please authorize or have CAI print out large scale maps. And you're saying, you said 3 by 4, right? 36 by 48? Sarah, is that correct?
36, I was saying,
Is it right?
yeah, I
No,
think it's correct, 36
Yeah.
by 38, it's 4 feet by 3 feet.
yeah, 36 by 40.
Yeah.
Yep. And we said that one laminator or both? I like both. We
Yeah,
can,
well, this one.
Yeah, two would be great. It'll only last longer.
yep,
You spill coffee on it too,
yeah.
most importantly.
I know. Okay, so that's on me to email Lorna about that one, and I'll email about the other thing too. Okay, time for minutes.
Oh, you got one?
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Okay, we have been approached by the solar initiative again. And, I guess we had a small discussion as to how to handle this, and the guy wants to have a forum. So I guess we're gonna invite him to the next available meeting to come and address the board as to what his wishes are, and what his questions are. He wants to talk. I haven't responded to him,
Nor have I.
so he's looking for an audience, and obviously the appropriate audience is here.
And in part, he's suggesting and requesting a change to the solar portion of the commercial development review ordinance.
Yeah, and prior, that's why I wanted to discuss, do we want to start something prior to his arrival, so it is a pending amendment?
Yeah, I don't.
I don't even, I want to hear
Oh,
what he has to say before
Yeah,
anything.
I want to hear,
I mean, we just voted that in.
Yeah.
Don't do, why would we be messing with it?
Well, I just had the thought, if we put in, there's some a list of prohibitions in there. And I thought that maybe putting concrete footings as a prohibition would help with when they're done, if they walk away, the dismemberment of the field. You want them actually digging up these 6 foot or however deep they are concrete footings, or do you want to require the use of a auger type or a surface, a more surface mounted footing structure.
I don't see where that would be an issue, because we already covered that. They have to remove the concrete all the way down, I mean,
But it's the tillage of the land. To remove the concrete footing is going to require excavation.
well, it's gonna require excavation to put them in too.
But the auger type, you screw them in, you screw them out, you're not disturbing the land twice. Destroying the land. More appropriate.
And that's gonna require what, to go back in front of the voters?
Yeah,
It would
It's
if
just
that's
that
what we, it's that.
I'm not very interested in that.
if you prohibit the use of concrete footings, they have to come up with their own engineered device.
Hans, this gentleman, did I understand correctly? He's associated with that proposed, or I don't know, the solar facility off of 8 and 11.
It is. Yeah. Off of,
He's not a marketer, or,
that project off of Burton Woods down that slope facing Great Pond. That's his land interest.
I guess before we do anything, I'd like to learn more myself. I'm skeptical, but about changing the ordinance, but I guess I'm willing to keep an open
Yeah,
mind.
so if we're gonna consider changing ordinance, let's talk to our attorney, say, you know, what kind of legal ground are we standing on? What are we doing this for? I mean, I wanna have the attorney involved, you know, before we start getting into it, the project.
Well, let's figure out if we even want to do it, you know, or even consider it.
Yeah. Because right now, I feel hesitant at best about bringing another change, you know, right now, that's me, that's just me. So I would,
I understand it's new, but it's a new ordinance and yes, there's a lot of work to get it just to where it is. But if you look at the long-term vision of what the ordinance is for, you know, you want to protect your land and having excavators come in and dig it up twice or none, you know.
Yep, so I would be willing to hear what he has to say. And just by hearing does not mean that I would want to launch into a whole new path of revising the ordinance. That's not where I'm at right now. It's just hearing him out,
Yeah.
like we would a lot of people who would have something.
Yeah, and if we wanna do, then we're gonna have to get the selectmen involved and everyone else involved, and,
It would be a thing,
it's a big process, right?
it will be a thing.
A one paragraph change.
So we keep, can we keep the meeting limited to 15 minutes, half an hour presentation, you know? No, can we ask for that?
I think it's a great idea to.
I don't know if this is the same gentleman that like attended the select board meeting or not.
Yeah, I don't either.
I actually, you know, like we talked about before the meeting, I thought that project, based on what they said, was dead.
So
Maybe they've redesigned it or something.
I would ask for, you know, his time to be limited, not unlimited.
So,
So
15 minutes.
15,
so I don't know if I hear this correct or incorrectly. So what is the purpose of he coming up? What he wants to do?
He wants to meet over the phone or in person.
And what is the topic we're gonna be talking about?
I'd imagine it's a solar field of some sort.
So, I probably misunderstood. It just seems like, he wanna provide input to tweak the ordinance. What good is the ordinance if we're gonna move it around? I understood wrong then. Did I understand wrong?
no, I don't think you understood wrong. I think,
He wants to ask questions. He might have a pending project, but he just says he wants to meet with us.
Okay,
so,
He
so,
didn't give me a form.
so we're gonna clarify, make sure that the same thing we do here.
Okay,
We'll come with the project, we're gonna kind of clarify
Yeah,
It meets the
so
ordinance.
that's a little different than what I understood from our earlier conversation. This sounds more like a pre-application meeting almost now. Do I-
Yeah,
Maybe, yeah, because he's not the one that's proposing the prohibition thing.
No, that's me.
That's you, okay,
I'm
all right.
about not disturbing the land, and if it makes it something that these things
Oh,
possible in the
Okay,
project, they decide to go somewhere
Oh,
else.
No, I had the wrong end of the stick.
I did too, so,
All right, I introduced two things.
Yeah.
First was the idea. Maybe, not allowing concrete footings.
that's one,
Okay.
yeah.
The other was, I wanted to address this gentleman that's been emailing us, asking for a meeting.
I mix, what kind of mix both of them.
Yeah, I was confused.
Yeah.
It's okay, but now we're getting clarity, so this sounds more like possibly a pre-application sort of discussion.
Probably, yeah, he wants to feel out if there's whatever. I mean, you got the same emails I did, so
Yeah,
what
which
did
was
you think of it?
not much. It was, let's get together and talk.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned before the meeting, I'm not gonna do it in email without everybody else. We're all doing it together in front of everybody in the town.
Yeah, right.
That's the way it's gonna be.
All right, and maybe, can we put a limit on that too?
15 minutes.
I just, for the sake of our time, if he's gonna come here to renegotiate ordinance terms, the answer is no. I don't wanna do this for another
No.
5 years. We spent too
I
much
mean,
into it.
My recollection is those people from that company were from the Portland area, if I recall correctly. Well, ultimately from Virginia, but
The engineers or the.
yeah, I mean, obviously they could attend via Zoom if they wished. It would still be public, right? That's acceptable or? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, it's great.
Yeah, and the footings thing, that was on me. That was, nobody,
you
no
think-
offense or.
You're saying that instead of having concrete footings, what was the alternative again?
An auger style, something that just drills into the earth, and then when it's done, they can undo it. Because reading the ordinance, the provisions for dismantling the project when they walk away. Well, somebody just takes their money and says, all right, we're chapter 11, we can't afford it, we're walking. There's a lot of work to be done to dismantle it. And
Well-
if these augers can be undone and reused or sold, then there's some recovery, cost recovery, it's easier.
I thought we had a letter of credit in there.
We do.
Financial assurance for that very purpose, if somebody should walk away and not adequately reclaim the land. Because I see this as two separate issues. One is that, that somebody goes bankrupt or just walks away. Will their financial resources be there to reclaim the site? And that was the whole purpose of the financial assurance section that we put into the ordinance. And then the second issue is the one that about, is this a better way to minimize the amount of potential for soil erosion and soil disturbance and that kind of thing by a more easily abandoned type of foundation for the. I think if we did our job half right, I think the financial side of that we should have covered is a hope. But I wouldn't mind learning more at some point about what the kind of, I just, I don't have a construction background, so I don't know. I mean, I've been around plenty of soil ordering sites, but not like what you're describing.
Well, what he's describing was like a techno post. And, we've been using those a little bit lately. To put posts in the camps and stuff. And the techno posts, they were actually involved in that thing up in Farmington, I don't know.
So you're right.
And, all it is, and that one post can hold quite a amount of weight.
Interesting.
And we use them now to put on the camps and stuff,
Okay,
or jet outs and, you know, I mean. I get what he's saying, but I don't know if I really wanna.
Well,
delve into a
yeah.
ordinance change.
right, it may be too that an ordinance change isn't needed, because if that's really value added technology, the market will drive people in that
Right.
To
direction.
do that.
They're free to use it now without us changing anything.
Right,
That would have been a good thought when we were making the ordinance.
I'm sure we're gonna say that. I'm afraid we'll say that on more than one occasion in the future.
No, that would have been a good thought, but, yeah.
Food for thought.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It's a good thought. It's a very good thought.
Yeah, I think, in a couple of years, we could. The town needs to probably think about revising, or we taking a second look.
Well, I think,
After the new ordinance we put through, we'll make it 2 years or 5 years, it makes sense.
5 years, we're gonna have fusion electricity, so.
I think our ordinance is good enough where we're gonna be pretty limited on what's going in the ground anyway. So I feel comfortable with it.
Well, and at least my experience has been, you learn where there might be some deficiencies with experience and, we're not there yet. We haven't had a single application yet.
Right.
Hans, good discussion. So thanks for clarifying the two aspects there of this.
Sorry, I created.
It's
that.
okay.
No,
It's all
no,
good. It's all good. Hans, anything else from the CEO that you care to?
or you.
Okay, yeah,
That's it.
thank you. If that's the case, let us proceed to the minutes, because we do have minutes, meeting minutes, and thank you. Does she go by Caitlin or Katie? I wonder if she goes by Katie, okay.
Oh, she does.
So thank you to Katie for doing this. I know with her signature, she wrote out the whole name, so I didn't want to refer to it incorrectly.
Well, if she doesn't like Katie, she'll be doing the minutes tomorrow, she can clarify.
Thank you, Katie or Caitlin, in advance. Please, thank you. All right, so let's go over, if we could, the minutes from 12/15/2022. Okay, has everybody had a chance to go through?
Mhm.
Any edits needed? No? Sarah? Any edit?
Mr. Baker tonight.
Yeah.
Come on, pick up the slack with
Yeah.
Sarah.
So,
Some
so
minutes.
on the minutes of 12/15, which is the first ones. In the second page, in other discussions. We need a period at the end of that,
That we do.
okay, and that's that, and then. For the January 5th. In the very first page. On the discussion,
We haven't done those yet,
oh, never mind, we're hustling.
if you don't mind.
I'm sorry.
It's-
I want to back.
But any edits from you or comment? George? any-
A question, and this is more about, I think Caitlin did a really nice job.
Yeah.
In the past, we've always, made a point to have it noted in the minutes, and because we make a point of it in our discussion on whether or not it is a non-conforming lot and a non-conforming structure. And in Mr. Smith's application, it's both of those, and whether we want that specifically noted in the minutes.
I believe it would be really good to have it in. There. And,
I don't think we provide that information to.
Yeah, and that's why I created that sheet of the shoreline zoning. I plan to do that for every application, so that I'll state, it'll be stated in there that it is non-conforming or conforming lot
Right.
and structure separate. Because I realized in our discussions, a lot of that was just falling through the cracks.
so thank you.
So I don't think the information was there for her, but it will be now.
So maybe going forward, if it was not provided in the past, maybe we can't.
Okay, so not, yeah, not change it here, but in the future, have that noted in the minutes.
Mhm.
Okay, that's fine with me.
Thank you. I'm glad you said that too, because I really like to have that from a record keeping perspective. You know, that way everybody knows where we're starting. This is a non-conforming lot with a non-conforming
Yeah.
structure. Then we can go to the place in the ordinance that deals with that. And that's the whole thing.
This form that is very helpful though.
And it can be amended anytime
I like it.
without a town meeting, so. You know,
Oh, really?
I know a guy.
You know a guy. Awesome. All right, so does the board, would they want to approve both?
No,
Of these?
one
Or
at a
do
time.
one at a time?
Proper this one first.
Okay, so anything else? No, 15. So all those, I need a motion.
I will move a motion to approve the minutes of December 15, 2022.
As amended
As amended.
and set, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor, so Pete.
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes,
Craig, George,
Yes,
me too, 5 in favor, none opposed. On to meeting minutes of 1/5/2023.
I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
On the minutes, last day, date of approval and secretary's signature, so. They'll approve, we'll sign it tomorrow. You gonna mark it approved today, or? I don't-
Oh, I see what you're saying. So that on the ones from 12/15. Oh, we've never done that before, so,
Right,
See,
secretary.
actually on, the one on 1/5, she's already filled her name and Caitlin filled it. So we just need to put the date of approval.
I'm good with that. So if we can say that for the meeting minutes of 12/15, we approved them on today's date, so 1/19.
Mhm.
That makes sense?
Yeah, and you can sign it tomorrow.
yes.
Excellent. Thank you. Great record keeping. Are we on to 1/5,
Mhm.
January 5?
Mhm.
Nicely done. People had a minute to go through.
I do.
Okay, what do you have for edits? Or,
So in the line it says in-person attendees,
I know what you're gonna say.
you go all the way to the end. Online should go, move to right underneath that, that would be nice.
Yeah.
I bet it was the kind of oversight, she was trying probably to do that. And then, on the discussion, third bullet down, and then inside that third bullet, 2 bullets down, a letter of authorization. I will put a period after that. And then I will put a period also on the very last bullet down next to process, another period. And then next page, where it says second revised shoreline zoning, the first bullet, at the end of it, another period. And that would end that.
Thank you, Sarah. Well done. Anybody else have any other comments? Pete, anything? Craig, anything? Sarah, I thought you, for sure, you're gonna say, put a comma in. Oh, dang nagging. After a favor of 5-0, period.
Come on now.
We're-
I know we're in a hurry.
No more slacking off over there, sir.
Yeah, I thought it was as good as Mr. Baker and not.
Very good, very good. That was the only comment I had. I had a question though, during the discussion phase of this, talked about a small guest house on the property with only a bedroom and a bathroom. Did someone mention to make clear that it did not include kitchen facilities?
Rich did. Somebody did, you're right.
So if so, is that?
You did. Yeah, you did.
I did?
Yeah.
I knew it was somebody.
I thought someone did. I just couldn't remember who. And do we feel that it's
You pointed
important?
it out for the, gentleman.
So do we feel it's important to keep that as a minuted item in there?
I think it is, just because we've always felt it to be important and because the town's been burned
When we're not,
in the past, in distant past.
Yeah, but this was not on an application, it was discussion. We tabled it for 30 days, the next day he withdrew it. So it's gonna come before us.
Oh,
Yeah, it is, right. It's not-
Yeah.
It's not.
yeah, that's right.
It wasn't approved anything, it was
Okay.
just discussion.
all right.
But we
Okay.
we still was part, it still was part of the discussion. You know, it's funny because I'm trying to think, I never heard that in that discussion, but I was late that day.
Oh, that's right.
So I cannot really attest to that, but if it actually was part of the discussion, it should be in the minutes.
I like your line of reasoning, even if it isn't a decision that was made, it was minuted. It was, so on, so I could live with, including a statement. Such as,
Mark it up. So you can fix it.
yeah, how could we best phrase that? On a property with only a bedroom and a bathroom,
And no cooking. facility.
no cooking facilities. Are we good with that?
Yeah, I'll do it, yeah.
No cooking facilities, okay. That was all I had. George, do you have any?
No, again, well done.
Yeah, I just want to say it was a good job where, two highlights in the back on the second page there. They brought up, where the name of this car there, right away thing and all that, and that's an issue here going forward, so it will get addressed.
Okay. If no other comments, I'd entertain a motion on this. Anybody?
I'll make a motion to approve minutes of January 5th, 2023, as amended.
Thank you, George. And
Seconded.
And second, thank you, Sarah. Any more discussion? So all those in favor, so Pete?
Yes.
Yes,
Sarah, Craig? Oh, that's right, I'm sorry, I apologize. George,
Yes.
and I am in favor, so that'd be 4 in favor. None opposed, 1 abstained. I think would be appropriate. Okay,
Just for Caitlin, I can't open where she's been sending, so we can get it in a PDF.
gotcha. That's right.
It's been in Word.
Yeah, so we'll just tell on the recording, so Caitlin, if possible, could you please create a PDF in addition to the Word document that you provide, so that it can be opened by others. Thanks. Okay, that's it on the agenda.
motion to adjourn?
No.
Motion to
I
adjourn?
move the
there's one
motion
more
to
thing on the
adjourn.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
Yeah, I move.
Adjourn.
Motion and seconded from
Second.
George.
Yeah.
All those in favor, so
I don't want to do it.
You don't wanna go?
I want to stick around, okay, you dedicated.
You can stay on your own.
We'll take it as in favor, so Sarah,
Yes.
yeah, Craig, yeah, George.
Yeah.
Me too, 5 in favor, we're adjourned.